Hello and welcome to this special themed book wrap-up for the month of April because I participated in the Magical Read-a-thon, and in April it is the Owls. So it's a Harry Potter related read-a-thon. I will put a link down below to Book Roast, who hosts this read-a-thon and explains it a lot better than I ever could. But basically, I tried to dress up Harry Potter. Like, I've got my Hufflepuff scarf, because I'm a Hufflepuff. These was the closest I could get to Harry Potter glasses. And then I have my wand. So before I go more into detail about me participating in the read-a-thon and how I did, I'm going to talk about stats of the books that I read. So I read a total of 7 books. 4 of them were hardcover, 3 of them were paperback. There were 3 male authors and 4 female authors. I read 1 book that was released in 2020 and 6 books that were not released in 2020. I read 2 adult books, 2 young adult books, and 3 middle grade. Never had a month where I read more middle grade than any of the others, but it happened. I read 3 fantasy, 2 sci-fi, 1 contemporary, and 1 literary fiction. I was not sure how to classify that one, so I just said literary fiction. The shortest book I read was 105 pages. The longest book I read was 434 pages. The total I read 2,179 pages, which averages to about 72 pages, I believe, a day. Which is very, very good. I'm happy with what happened. And lastly, stars. I read 1 2-star book, 2 3-stars, 3 4-stars, and 1 5-star, which averages to about 3.57 stars. Yay. So now let's move on to the read-a-thon. So, yes, the Hogwarts, what? Okay, so the Magical Read-a-thon. And April is the Owls, and then in August you participate in the Newts. And that's only if you complete the Owls, which I did thankfully complete, literally just in time. It was like 1 more day left and I still had 1 book to read, so I read that whole book in 1 day. And I've never done that before in my life, but I was determined to complete these Owls. So basically, Book Roast gives you kind of like a pamphlet that gives you all like the careers that you could do in the magical world, and in those careers it tells you what you need to accomplish for your Owls and what you need to accomplish for your Newts in order to do that career. So the career I chose was ministry worker, but more importantly, more specifically, I chose the Department of International Magical Cooperation. That was what I decided to do. And then she also sends you a lovely little letter from Professor McGonagall. She also sends you this little like sheet of paper that comes with the letter, the prompts for all the different topics. So as a ministry worker, specifically in the Department of International Magical Cooperation, I had to complete 6 topics. But I wanted to make things a little harder for myself, because this year she added something new and there were like separate little courses that you could take. So I took a separate little course. I decided to do Merpeople Linguistics because I feel like that would come in handy working in the the International Magical Cooperation Department, because you never know, I might need to speak with mermaids and cooperate with them, so it's good to know their language. And so that included another owl that I had to complete. So overall I had to complete 7 owls, which is why I read 7 books. Unfortunately though, I was not able to add my Shakespeare play for this month, which will have been the first month that I missed reading a Shakespeare play in like 16 months. So, did not complete my reading a Shakespeare play each month. But that's okay. Maybe I can try to make up for it and read 2 next month. We'll see. I don't know how that's gonna work out. But anyway, let's just get started. So the first owl that I had to complete was Charms. And for Charms, it was for Lumos Maxima. So read a book with a white cover. The book I chose is Immunity by Erin Bowman. This is the second and final book to Contagion, which I read, was it last month? I think I read that in March, yeah. And I absolutely loved Contagion. I gave it 5 stars. It was amazing. And so I was very excited to continue on. And I did enjoy this a lot. I don't think I liked it as much as the first one. I think the reason why I loved the first one so much was because of the horror aspect to it, which was surprising since I'm normally not a horror kind of gal. But that just like added so much like suspense and uniqueness to it. This didn't really have any horror aspects to it. We do follow directly what happened after the first book, which, by the way, is it's like a horror sci-fi. Oh shoot, I meant to use my wand. We'll do it for the next ones. So this series is like a sci-fi horror, although this is more, I think, sci-fi, not thriller, just sci-fi, about this planet that has a contagion, and it affects all the people that were on that planet, and so, but we don't know that yet until they send a team of people to a distress call that was made to that planet. Words. They send a team of people to that planet to see what happened, see if they can resolve things, but it turns out the contagion went amok and turned everyone into like zombie-like people. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it, but this follows directly after what happened in that first one. And this was more of like a dystopian rather than horror, I feel like. And it was just kind of like, you know, there's the radicals and then there's the not radicals, and they're fighting, and the people from the first book get caught up in a war. Anyway, I feel like if I say too much, I'm gonna give everything away. But yeah, no, I really did enjoy this one a lot. Again, liked it a little bit less than the first one, but it was still a really great series and a great conclusion. I liked the addition of the new character. What's her name? Amber? Doesn't say. Yeah, I think the new character's name is Amber, and I liked her a lot. Anyway, yeah, so I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Now we're going to use the wand, since I forgot. Okay, so the next thing I had to complete was Defense Against the Dark Arts. And for that, it was Grindylows. I had to read a book set at the sea or the coast. Okay? Ready? Let's see if I can do this. Editing Ellen will have to work her magic. Or I just work my own magic. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. I have my own magic right now. So, Accio book. Did it work? Or did I do it right? Anyway, this is the book I read for that. This is To Kill a Kingdom. It's by Alexandra Christo. This takes place on the sea and at the coast. It takes place at both. In this, it was so exciting. This is like a Little Mermaid retelling, which Little Mermaid is my favorite Disney movie, in case you want to know. So that already made me excited. But we follow a princess siren who steals the hearts of men every single year on her birthday. And I think she's about to turn 18 in this one. So she's about to steal her 18th one. And she always steals the hearts of princes. Because she's a princess. She has to have the prince's hearts. But she does something that she's not supposed to do. And she gets banished to the land. And they turn her into like a human, and she has to steal the heart of a prince before the winter solstice, and then she can be returned. If she doesn't, then she has to stay a human forever. So she goes out to steal the heart of Prince Elian, who is also a siren hunter. Very exciting stuff. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one as well. This had a lot going for it. I really liked it. There's really great action, really great romance. The banter between all the characters is really great, not just the main two. And the battle at the end was really cool and exciting. I don't know, it was just really great, but it doesn't make like my top ultimate favorite books of all time kind of a thing, which is why I feel like I can't give it a 5 stars. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Next topic I had to complete was History of Magic. And for that I had to read, it followed witch hunts, so I had to read a book featuring witches or wizards. Accio book. I did it, right? Did I do it better that time? I don't know. This is the one that I read for that prompt. This is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. And I loved this one very much. Another book I loved. I keep showing you all the books that I loved. That means we're ending on a bad note, aren't we? Loved this book a whole dang bunch. This is a middle grade following a town. How do I explain this book? Okay, give me a second. So we follow a town where every year at the same time they sacrifice their youngest resident, aka a baby who has like been born the most recent, to the forest, because there's a witch that lives in the forest, and in order to like placate her and make her not come to their town and steal everything and whatever, wreak havoc. They sacrifice a baby. She takes the baby. They don't know what she does with it. They're like, she's a witch, she's evil. But we also follow the witch, who is actually really nice, and she doesn't know why the people of this town always leave a baby on this rock near the forest. So she always just takes them and like delivers them to a beautiful home on the other side of the forest. But then there's one day where she takes the baby and she accidentally feeds the baby moonlight, which then turns the baby into a witch. So she decides she's going to take care of this baby. But then we also follow the people that live in that town and how things are going there. Mainly, what's his name? Oh, it doesn't say his name on the back. Dang it, I really liked him a lot. Oh, Antane. We also follow Antane, who is living in that town and is like, why do we have to keep doing this every year? Like, I want to fight this witch. Anyway, it's a really, really great story. Very fairy tale-esque. Such a rich world that I did not, like, want to stop reading from. Like, it was so beautiful. It, like, literally felt like magic, this book. It's truly wonderful. Loved it a whole bunch. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I had to complete potions. And for potions, it was Shrinking Solution. So I had to read a book under 150 pages. Got my trusty wand. Accio book. Hey. Okay, so I read Of Mice and Men. For that prompt, it is 105 pages. It is the only book that I had those under 150 pages, so I read it. I have seen the play Of Mice and Men 2 times, and it's one of my favorite plays. I love it very much, so I've wanted to read the classic novel for so long. And you guys, I didn't really like it. I think I like the play better because I'm able to visualize it more, and even trying to visualize the play while reading was so difficult for some reason. But this is a classic book. It's by John Steinbeck, who also wrote, you know, Grapes of Wrath and all those other famous books that are such classics. But in this one we follow pretty much a friendship between 2 guys. One of them is not so bright. Like, I feel like maybe he's autistic in a way. They don't really discuss it at all. But then we also follow his friend who's been like traveling along with him and takes really good care of him, or tries to, because the other guy always seems to get into such trouble. What are their names? George and Lenny. George and Lenny. Okay, I think this takes place in the 1930s, and we follow these 2 men that I've been talking about. They're trying to find jobs, and we start off, they just had to leave a town because Lenny did something that people were mistaking him of doing, so they had to run away. And they're starting a new job at this new place. And you just kind of meet like the characters they work with, and them trying to come up with their plan of, you know, not having to work and just living off the fat of the land. That's what they say a lot. But then something goes wrong, and it ends pretty sad. It's a very sad ending. I think for such a short book, it took me such a long time to read, and I think it was because of 2 reasons. One, reading it was just kind of boring rather than watching it, where it's a lot more exciting when you watch it. I don't know, I think just the writing style was a little boring, but also too, the way that they speak, that he wrote out the way that they speak. Instead of actually writing the words that they're saying, he wrote out the way that they're saying it. So it was always kind of tough to read. Let me see if I can find an example. Kind of like here. I don't know, I can't really show you because blurriness, but never did seem right to me. Spose, and it's spelled S-P-O-S-E. Spose, Curly jumps a big guy and licks him. And Ann is A-N with the little thing. Everybody says what a game guy Curly is, and Spose, he does the same thing and gets licked. And everybody says the big guy oughta, it's oughta spelled wrong as well, pick somebody his own size and maybe they gang up on the big guy. Never did seem right to me. Seems like Curly ain't giving nobody a chance. Like, it's, I don't know, it's like the way it's written was kind of hard to read. But I mean, I do enjoy the story just because, you know, I've seen the play, like the play, so I like the story itself. But I just don't think I liked the writing style, so it was just okay for me. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Next was Transfiguration. This was a tough one to choose, but for Transfiguration, it was the Animagus lecture, so I had to read a book or series that includes shape-shifting. This was tough, because at first I was like, I don't know any books that I own that have shape-shifting except for ones that I've already read. So I did research, looked it up, and I picked one, but then a book came out in 2020, and I was like, yes, this is the one that I am reading. Accio book is this one. Because no one was talking about this book. It has shape-shifting in it. But this is Arusha and the Tree of Wishes. It's by Rashi Chakshi. It's a middle grade. This is the third book in the Pandava Quartet, which I have been loving. So when the third book was coming out, I was like, I think this has shape-shifting in it. And then I read like the first 2 pages, and there was already shape-shifting within the first 2 pages. And I was like, okay, thank God. Whew, because if it didn't have shape-shifting, I was going to have to put it down and pick something else up. This is also my 2020 pick for the month, because I like to read a 2020 book every single month. That way I can read more new books that are coming out. But one of the characters, Bryn, she can shapeshift into, I think, like any animal. In this, she shapeshifts into a bird. She also shapeshifts into an elephant. I think there's something else she shapeshifts into, but I can't remember. Yeah, it's super fun. It's a middle grade series based off of Hindu mythology, which is super exciting to learn about and really fun. But I love the character Aru, who we mainly follow. She is so spunky, so feisty, so sarcastic. The language in here is just so funny too, because you can definitely tell that they're children. They're like 12, 13-year-olds, and they're on like all these adventures and quests to try and stop the sleeper. Very, very fun book. I'm so excited for the last and final book, which is coming out next year. I will immediately order it as soon as it comes out and then read it right away, because I love this series. But I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Then my next topic was Muggle Studies. And for that, I had to read a book from the perspective of a Muggle. Accio book. I read Love Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. Did you know that Stargirl has a sequel? I didn't know that until I found out, and I was very excited because Stargirl is one of my favorite books of all time. I read it, or I reread it last month. Right? Yes. I can't remember at this point. I think I reread it in March. I was very excited that I still loved it as much as I did when I was in elementary school when I read it for the first time. But then when I found out that there was a sequel, and the sequel follows Stargirl after the events of that first book, I was so ecstatic. Because the way that book ends, the way Stargirl ends too, it's just like, what the hell happened to Stargirl? Where did she go? You find out. This one was just okay. It's definitely not as good as Stargirl. It was, I will say, it didn't feel like Stargirl when I was reading it. It was one of those things where it's like, I think Jerry Spinelli tried to get into the head of Stargirl, and I don't think he did it successfully. It did not feel like that's Stargirl's perspective on things. I don't know. It was interesting. But also too, it's in like diary format, not so much. It's more of like she sends letters to Leo about what's going on and how things are going. But it's also sort of diary-esque because, you know, you see like July 13th. And this follows Stargirl for an entire year in her new town that she's living in, and the people that she meets and the things that happen. And I enjoyed the story itself and like where she went and like how she and like the new friends that she's making and all these fun things that she's doing, and how she's moving on from Leo and how she's moving on from her love of her very first boyfriend Leo from the first book. But yeah, no, it didn't feel like Stargirl's voice, and I don't think I really liked the writing style of the second one. I don't know. So it was just okay for me. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, and then the last book that I had to read was for Herbology, and that was for my Merpeople Linguistics. So I wasn't going to have to read this, but I did, because it's just what I do. I'm not looking forward to August when I'm probably going to have to read like 10 books, I think it is. Okay, so... Oh wait, Herbology. Let's talk about it for a second. Herbology was Mimbulus Mimbletonia. So for that I had to read a title that starts with the letter M. Accio book. This is what I read. It's The Municipalists by Seth Freed, and this is my 2019 pick for this month, because that's another thing I've been trying to do. Read a 2019 release each month to try and catch up on books that I wanted to get to last year and didn't, you know? So this was that pick. Also, it begins with an M, Municipalists. This is an adult book, sci-fi. You have a human and an AI trying to find terrorists and save the world. It was okay. It was, I don't know, I think I was expecting more, but it was just very boring at times, surprisingly, when you're trying to find terrorists. But it was also just the fact that, like, the main character just loves trains so much and would talk about trains quite a bit. Then I don't care about trains. He also would just, like, the narrator would just describe the towns very, like, business-like. So that it made it a little boring. Oh my god, it is so hot with this scarf on. You guys, it is hot out. And I'm wearing a freaking scarf. Okay. But basically, it was just okay. I don't have a whole lot to say on it. It is short. It's fine. It just felt very business-like, which I know we are following a business guy going to a very business town. And it was kind of exciting at times. I mean, whenever he had to be in the presence of those terrorists. And I liked the AI. The AI was very funny. I mean, because he, I think, grew up, I don't know why I'm looking in the book, he grew up when he was being, like, made and created. His owner would constantly watch, like, these crime boss movies, and so the AI kind of, like, took that on. It took on that persona, would always, like, carry whiskey around. So that was kind of funny and fun, but overall, I was just, like, ugh about it. Thankfully it was short, so it didn't take too long, and I wasn't in this book for a whole lot. If it was longer, I definitely would have DNF'd it. So I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. And that is it. Those are all the books that I've read for the month of April and for the Owls Read-a-thon. Please also go check out my April wrap-up in general, which I talk about my movies and life and TV shows and songs and just everything else about April that I really enjoyed and like. And I will see you guys later with more videos. Bye!